Well, hello, creatives, community, and kind folks out there. Welcome to RPG with DBJ. I am your host, DBJ, and welcome to yet another episode where we deep dive into a simple but pretty relevant concept when it comes to tabletop RPGs. So, the to my left, I have my moderators there. For those who are longtime viewers and or listeners to the show, if you're able to see, you'll know who my moderators are just by the images there. I want to thank you guys for joining me. And this week, we have been talking about weather. And if you're unfamiliar with this channel as well, this channel is TriCast over to multiple platforms, and those multiple platforms are listed below. And of course, that information is below the video. So we're talking about weather and using weather in tabletop RPGs. And on World Building Wednesday, we like to take whatever subject we're talking about. That subject could be in any number of things. Of course, we're going to talk about weather and build a setting very quickly around the concept of whatever events or individuals or politics or something silly even, and build it around that. So I thought we would go back to a comment made both in the comments after the video aired and some ideas that you came up with, which was, wasn't just what you came up with, but was viewed on another property. I believe it was the Lex property, LEXX property, which is this idea that there are planetary systems get so close together that the weather systems and kind of merge, and you're able to sail from one place to another. So I'm imagining that somewhere in the world, or maybe multiple places in the world, whether you're using planets or other dimensions. I mean, even you could even have it could even be so that if you look directly up into the air, it's much like looking straight down from an airplane, where maybe there's an equal and opposite land above you, and seen very vaguely through like clouds or something, you can actually see other fields with another world directly above you or something. So maybe there are these strange happenings, storms and earthquakes and gravitational pulls or something, but they become so strong that it makes it, there's a very deadly, but there is a severe tenuous connection between these two worlds, whether they're planets or lands or something, and someone or something, on purpose or by accident, can be sucked up through the storms, almost like a temporary highway or wormhole or something, to be deposited on the other land. And I think that'd be kind of a cool thing. Player characters might be like storm watchers or something. You know, watchers, not really watchers on the wall, but like you're almost, the PCs might be storm chasers, but in a very arcane, very dramatic kind of method, where they're not only are they looking for these massive storms, but yeah, um, Tesla Ranger puts in the Upside Down 2012 movie. Was it 2012? Yeah, was it a young lady and a young man fall for each other in a world where they're literally like office workers and things, that where some of them work on one side of the upside down and the others work on the other side or something. Yeah. Adam and Eve fall in love as teens despite the fact that they live on twinned worlds with gravities that pull in opposite directions. 10 years after a forced separation, Adam sets out on a dangerous quest to reconnect with his love. Yeah, really bizarre movie. I don't remember much from it. I'm getting the feeling I only watched like half of it. But a very bizarre concept, and I actually kind of like the concept too, especially if the two worlds are, you could either go, the two worlds are twins of each other, meaning like the idea that there's for every monument, every location on this world, there's an equal and opposite one on the other one, including the people. Or you could go very, very fantastical with it, where they're not even human beings that live on the other world. There's these other creatures, monsters, fiends, celestials, so on and so forth, right? Jim Sturgis and Kirsten Dunst. I didn't know she was in that. It has. Well, I guess it has been a while. 2028. Yeah. Not a bad idea. And you could even have this. What could be set up is that the PCs as storm watchers, the storms may not be terribly the storms may not be terribly stable. So if they go from one side to the other, as they move from one to the other, they don't know when they will be able to come back, or maybe they may not even be able to tell if they will be able to come back anytime soon. So if they're going there for, say, bounty hunting, treasure finding, sabotage, to engage in illicit activities or stop those same illicit activities, especially if they are agents that are like, maybe there's like a storm watchers are an agency of mixed individuals from both sides, and so getting those agents together, or making sure that they are able to contact each other from one side to the other. While this can kind of sound rather technological, I could see an arcane version of the same thing, and maybe, just maybe, there are rituals or magic items or a natural gemstone or something. They don't necessarily call these storms, but maybe they're able to, like, when the storm exists, they can kind of very generally goad them into one particular direction. Hey, live and let dice. Yeah, storm chasing as a plot hook. Now that is the cinematic style content we need. Yeah. I'm literally thinking of like storm chasers. Like the PCs are like hunkered down in like a ditch or something, and they're waiting for like the storm to reach down from the sky and touch down, and you see like debris, and I don't mean just like wind. I'm thinking in my head canon, I'm thinking like flames and wind and stone and like a plethora of things happening. The ground cracking open. Yeah, Twister. Yeah. Yes, Rickard, we're talking about Twister. And I'm glad by the way, this is the very first time that this channel is broadcasting audio and video on Discord, YouTube, and Twitch simultaneously. So if you use any or all of those platforms, you can join in. Although I'm thinking many of you are like, well, if I'm getting video on Discord, why do I need anything else, right? But anyway, yes, you can participate in the channel that way. So it's kind of cool. We will figure out a method to. I believe most of you are also on the video portion of it, although muted out. We'll figure out a way to kick you guys out until the show is over. But for right now, I literally found out 5 minutes before we went live. So, live and let dice is like skill challenges involving a tornado. Yeah, hell yeah, like piloting, but hoping you keep your ass safe, right? Maybe the PCs must chain themselves together, or I don't know, maybe there's a particular type of vehicle. I can't imagine a tornado vehicle, but maybe there's a particular type of vehicle or cage or something that you're able to get inside of, and kind of like navigate your way. Maybe it's an aerial vehicle without any kind of propulsion, but the minute it gets sucked up into the tornado, you're able to dip and dive around the debris and navigate your way to the other side. And thank you there, Red Dice. Now I get to see that smooth criminal DBJ as well as hear him. Yeah, for those of you who just listen in on Discord, now that there's video, now I get to punish you. Tesla's like, maybe there's this Norse hammer you can use. Hmm. So, of course, we're talking about weather, which means that as storm chasers, I'm using that as a placeholder, but it actually sounds kind of cool. As storm chasers, I'm imagining that there's some very difficult but significant way that these storms can be moved away from most of humanity so it doesn't cause as much destruction, and so that the storm chasers can't stop it, but maybe they can triangulate some kind of method, like using a beacon of some sort, like a very rare gemstone that pulses with energy and glows from within, that's able to draw the storm away from many of the population centers, or at least try to. And then what would come down from the storms? It could be elemental. You know, the typical like earth, air, fire, water elementals ravage the landscape when the storms hit. So even after the storms are over, there are these like dangerous elementals that come through. They could be monitored or controlled or enhanced by the genie kings, meaning like Jinn and Ifrit or something. Might they might not just be mindless elementals, but they might be elemental beings of some sort that drop through from one end to the other. And if the PCs don't go up through the storms to stop whatever's happening, because maybe the storms are a two-way street. I don't know. Uh, Thank you, Rickard's like world building with weather. Sanderson's Stormlight Archive series uses storms that circle the planet continuously. Yeah. No, by the way, as a plug, if you have no concept of who Brand Brandon Sanderson is, please look him up. He is an instructor at a college and also a fantasy novelist who literally teaches a class on fantasy novel writing and story writing, and it absolutely applies to gaming as well. So check out that series. I believe there's quite a few. There's a couple of like 6 or 7 lectures that he's done on YouTube, so you can look that up as well. Yeah. Sharknado becomes real. Yeah, we were joking about Sharknado, but yeah, Sharknado. Why? I mean, maybe sharks are the least of your worries in these massive tornadoes that sweep down onto the landscape and suck up something by accident or on purpose, along with the PCs, right? Yeah. Living like Dice says, an aberration could be an interesting enemy in control of storms with some freakish otherworldly power. Yeah. Like instead of the air quotes other dimension, maybe the storms just reach up and either draw something down or bring something up into another world. And so by doing such a thing, the PCs are like the storm watchers or storm chasers that slay the otherworldly like aberrations or something that reach down. Like, could you imagine a tornado reaching down and then all of a sudden some like massive tentacle reaches down out the sky from the tornado, and you're just like, oh my god, I think I'm gonna go insane if I actually see what's beyond those tentacles that are reaching down into the world, right? Yeah, I really like that. Okay, let's see. Revered Panda. Okay. Revered Panda says my very first game on my current campaign was my PCs fighting through a hurricane that had been called up with the ritual, with the side effect of attracting methods and other small elementals. I'm liking that. There was lots of skill challenges trying to fight their way through the storm to get to the eye where the rituals was taking place. Yeah. Now, if these massive storms happen because of a ritual, you could also have part of the setting might be hunting down the people causing the ritual itself before it happens. But once it starts happening, you're going to need like all the PCs as storm watchers or storm chasers to shut these things down periodically. And why it's happening. Like, why would someone want to open up a portal? I mean, you know how cultists are, right? They're always opening up portals to somewhere. They love opening up a big hole and having something come out of it, or maybe putting something in that big hole. But they always do that, and so we might want to work with the story on that. But I'm liking the idea of people being able to actually create the storm in the first place, and the residual damage is the thing that everyone's worried about. Revered Panda goes on to say the ritual was the breaking of a seal that had locked away a forgotten sea goddess. Cultists be crazy, man. Yeah, they sure are. You're just like, what? You do realize you're opening up a portal to another world, and we have no control of the thing. And of course, the cultists are like, of course we are. Yeah. Man. Rickard says there's also the writing excuses podcast with him, Sanderson, and a few others who talk 15 minutes about a storytelling device or topic. I did not know that. I did not know that. Please put in the link if you can find it there in the Discord. So, Living Nice Dice says you could nerf and reskin an umbral blot to be a living eye of a storm floating around that the PCs could fight. Yeah, and my thing is, like, you could reskin, rename, reuse, reflavor a ton of things, right? I mean, you could just throw Elemental X as a feature on damn near 99% of the stuff in your monster manual like things. So yeah, hell yeah, absolutely. And there might even be thank you there, Rickard, because I'm probably going to listen to that today, before I head off to work. But yeah, you could even, much like the Princes of the Apocalypse, right? The elemental princes, you could even, the storms may be caused by cultists on our world, but there could be different factions coming in from the other world where these things are happening in the first place. And so the cultists could be harnessing the storms rather than just creating them, or everyone knows that a particular time and date, like there could be these like a farmer's almanac, except far more dangerous, where people know that there are certain storms in a particular wide-ranging area, and so they're just waiting for the storms to happen. And maybe the ritualists are doing the exact same thing. They're waiting for the confluence of energies, much like here in the States where we have Tornado Alley, where the hot and cold moving air coincides with each other and they slide across each other to create basically a tornado. Maybe there's something like that in the world, but it's more than just hot and cold air. Maybe there's something more arcane, like schools of magic that mix together or something. When radiance and necrology, and when the cryomancy and the pyromancy mix together all at the same time. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, I'm I'm like Pet Ogre. Yeah, I'm adding that to my podcast client. Yep, hell yeah. Thank you so much. And it's on YouTube as well. Even better. I listen to a lot of YouTube. Screen off just the audio portions of YouTube constantly. Probably 6 to 8 hours a day. Living Like Dice says, didn't think about that, but sea deities and cultists could be factions for this kind of problem. Ooh, that makes it a lot more dangerous, because imagine storm chasing in a boat, right? Like, make a mistake and you're dead. It doesn't matter what happens, right? You either jump through the pinhole or you're just friggin' dead. So, we could even start from the point of, much like the Greek gods and goddesses, where Neptune gets pissed off with humanity for some odd reason and starts blasting humanity because of with these massive storms, or a battle between the sea gods and goddesses and some of the aerial gods and goddesses, or elemental forces. And this, for humanity, this might have lasted for 100 years or more, but for the gods, it's just basically it's like a friendly spat to them. And so this might be pretty dramatic. I'm liking what I'm hearing. I'm liking where we're going. Now Rickard says, yeah, he says the lectures are from his lectures at BYU. But it says here's a hot take: if hit points isn't meant to be bodily wounds, but more of a type of plot armor, why don't we use that for skill checks? It's what creates tension in combat, so why not in trying to get through a storm? You session zero. Okay, I could see that. Like, let's say the cost of going through the storm is, I'm just coming up with a number, right? You roll the dice and go, okay, it's 17 hit points, right, to get through the storm. But really, what you're doing is that's the stress it takes to navigate your way from one place to the other, so that when you arrive at one place, you go through the storm and you get to the other place, you are, it's like exhaustion of sorts, like you're saying, like plot armor. I'm feeling you. Yeah, yeah, I'm feeling how you're considering using that. Yeah, what Red Dice says. Yeah, wherever anyone says Greek gods, I imagine them around a chessboard representing the world, like the old Ray Harryhausen films. You know what? I do the same thing. The Greek gods chessboard where um, it's almost like there's chess pieces, but there's like little clouds floating over top of them, and they're like literally moving people, using the fates to move people from one place to another. I feel you on that, Red Dice. Yeah, Live and Let Dice says weather could be a low level thing. Let's say it never stops raining for months, and the PCs are sent to find a solution, which could be confronting a shaman or a druid, maybe with the tribe. Yeah, or okay, I'm going to add to that with somehow, some way, back in the annals of history, the world was a paradise, and rain. It was just a summer. It was just a spring or summer rain with like rainbows, and earthquakes never happened. Storm surge, never thought about it. But over the generations, there really is no safe place. Like weather always happens in its extreme, and the player characters are the ones who are equipped or maybe foolhardy, or they're like the danger runners. They're the ones who are able to leave the places of relative safety, which might be very few, to go out into a world where there's always the fear of like, yeah, it's raining, it's never stopped. Earthquakes happen every day. Bolts of lightning from these massive storms strike the mountainside all the time. Fires being lit because of dry harvests or something like that. Yeah, happens not just every year, but happens like on a semi-weekly basis, right? So the PCs are always confronting locations where there's always these hazards, and those things could be. Remember, weather systems can span, our whole planet. So for the PCs to have to travel hundreds, even thousands of kilometers to get to a particular from one place to another might just be part of storm chasing, right? We've got to get to the PCs are tasked from the four corners of the earth to get to a location, and that could be an excellent reason why the PCs come from such divergent cultures to get from one place to another, right? They leave home, they get there, they find these other people who are trying to do the same thing to stop this massive tornado that reaches up into the cosmos. But before they got there, one of them came from, a mass for them, a world-spanning desert with sandstorms and ever-shifting sand, and like the heat is blazing down on them or something. And someone else came from a volcanic region where there's constant lava spewing forward and poisonous gas is spewing out of the ground as the ground cracks open. And someone else comes from a jungle that's besieged with rain all the time. They may have seen the sun maybe once a month. Yeah. Oh, I like that. Oh, jeez. Yeah, Red Dice is like, maybe Poseidon got pissed and emptied his drink on the board. Yeah. Oh man. Oh man. Now I like what. Now going back to a little bit of what Rickard was saying about using hit points as like a mechanism. Like he did say, that way maybe a failure on a skill check isn't you fall down and die. It's you stretch your muscles and barely hold on, but take 1d6 hit point damage. I'm honestly, I really like that concept because you know me, I don't I talk about not having locked doors, and so the player characters as storm chasers basically you're guaranteed to always go through the storm to get to the other side, but there's a cost in it, and narratively maybe the cost is just being buffeted around or having to dodge around and things like that. So yeah, oh yeah, I'm liking it. Ooh, Shadowrun, the Great Ghost Dance. Yeah, or there wouldn't be much of a. You could make the case that there might not be much of a formal society. So, if the player characters come from a tribalist society, I could see that. Greek gods roll table. Today, I will mess with human beings because let's roll a d6. One, one of them pissed me off. Two, I have this bastard that is causing blank. Yeah. Three, I got challenged to do it by, of course, blank. Four, we need to check out one of them's worthiness, right? Five, I'm horny. Six, do I need a reason? I mean, in a weird um in a weird kind of way, you could actually have the gods like having be a physical manifestation in this world. Whereas the gods are messing with the chess pieces, maybe they're reaching down and literally moving pieces on the world as these things happen. That's where the storms are coming from, which would be kind of weird, but nah, let's put that on the back burner. Um, oh man, Tesla puts in a quote like, "It's topless thunderbolt enthusiasts, and somewhere along the line, everyone's dad Zeus, Lord of Olympus." A quote by Rob Pearson from PlayStation Access. Yeah, Zeus is yeah, can't keep his pants up, right? That's why he wears the robe. It's easy access. Yeah, yeah. It's either because he is horny or that he was horny at one point. Yeah. Oh my goodness. All right, all right. All right. Revered Panda says, I have also used the removal of hit dice as a way to show exertion as part of a failure, especially to natural occurrences. It represents muscle strains and just being worn out and unable to catch your breath as much. I like that. I like that a lot because you have a method of guaranteeing success, right? Yes, the thing is dangerous, but it guarantees success, but there's also a cost to it. And that way you do have a method of moderating how much somebody can do a thing. Like for example, maybe getting some kind of extra storm like resource from this other world through this tornado might be pretty expensive or even game breaking. But if you have a resource that you have to expend to do the thing, it will limit how much the players and of course other people in the world do the thing in the first place, right? Like going to the other world to get a Vorpal blade is finding the Vorpal blade is easy. Getting there is the hard thing. So instead of the PCs using it like a freight train where they just get on it and go, hey, let's hitch a ride in the storm, you know. Now of course how they arrive and where they arrive at could be also another issue. Player characters could leave this world to get sucked up into the storm to be deposited some random place there, and then they're hoping upon hope that they can get back to at least within you know a few days or weeks travel to get back home. So yeah, I'm thinking that. Yep, yep, yep. Now let's see. Tesla, Raven, Raven traveled into the maze and enacted a ritual which caused the Great Quake of 1868, which was followed by the flood of 1880 from Deadlands. Ooh, ooh, I'm liking that. That's now for those who don't know, Deadlands is a role-playing game, which is like weird. So it's one of the original Weird West role-playing games, and I'm liking it. A long-lived native warrior and one of the servitors of the Reckoners, Raven lives to bring ruin upon the nation. He is the favored servitor of war who uses Raven to spread violence and death. I I'm feeling a world where it is more tribalist. You could even do a I was going to say retroactive, wrong descriptor. A higher tech society that is thrown back to a lower tech society, meaning that a world with say steel and iron ends up getting thrown back quite a bit because in a storm ravaged world industry might be extremely difficult to maintain. Trade routes, consistent supplies of food and goods and services, having people who are experts in their particular fields of study having a difficulty spreading their knowledge around. So I'm thinking maybe some of them, like maybe society has knowledge of using some old things like crafting weapons and things, but a lot of that has been lost simply because of the dangers of living. Red Dice puts in the family tree of the Greek gods. Yeah, more like a family stain. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, no, I think Dead Man was trying to help me out there because whenever I read those kind of names without the capitalized separations over there in Twitch, it's a little difficult to read out the name. I think it's just helping out. Um, mm, mm. Now, Rickard says instead of inns along the road, you might have stormfront forts where travelers can seek shelter. Yeah, and you could even maybe they are. It's the classic building doesn't exist any longer. Maybe they are almost like storm shelters or storm forts where a large portion of them could be underground, or maybe they are constructed in a manner that is while suffering some damage, they have a high resistance to being sucked up off the ground or something. Yep. Red Dice says if the world is perma flooded, how about having permanent settlements actually float on platforms in the sea so the map is constantly in flux? Yeah, floating communities, island communities. Um, I suppose you'd probably have to have a handful, no more than a handful of stable locations, just so that the PCs have a kind of a touchstone to call upon, so that there is some form of stable society. But maybe it's extremely difficult to get there, or they have a limited population. So hey, we can only have 1,000 people in our floating city, and that's it. Water World. That man's like similar to Water World. Maybe. Maybe. Living Let Dice says weather could even be. Says I like the idea of incorporating this into a mountain trek where the PCs have the risk of being struck by lightning, maybe merely losing their footing on rain slick stone, or having winds knock boulders down. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Or having boulders knock their way. I hear what you're saying. Um, I like this. I like the idea of like maybe okay. So while the division between the arcane storms and the weather we have in our own world might be a thin line, maybe the rest of the world is besieged by what we would consider mundane weather, flooding, storms, lightning bolts, earthquakes, sandstorms, that kind of thing. And then the PCs travel to the far more dangerous places. So they could be skilled in finding shelter. Cities, if they aren't if the entire world isn't water world, maybe even on land, everyone has to be nomadic because they know that the storms are going to come after them. So, weather prediction might be an extremely important skill. Um, Moving with certain types of migratory animals might be needed as well because those migratory animals might be very sensitive to the storms and they're able to find, at least on a limited basis, some some safe havens. Like in our world, instead of us going, okay, we're looking at the weather to see when a storm is happening. Maybe we're looking to see when the storm breaks to allow us to travel from one area to another to hunker back down again to yet have more storms come after us. And of course, we haven't even talked about adversaries in this kind of world, right? We haven't talked about like what would be dropping down from the clouds, what kind of creatures would be taking advantage of the fact that they're unaffected by the storms. I mean, giant alligators, I don't know, phoenixes, or like naga, or I don't know. You could come up with a number of types of creatures that are like, completely. They could care less about the rain or the heat or the winds, but humanity, of course, being very fragile, is could have a there could be a possibility. Now, Red Dice says perhaps the tops of mountains from before the flood are the only stable settlements. That would keep the settlements in a safe location, but unable to be reached consistently. And the player characters could be taking resources from one city to another. Coatls. I like that live and let dice. Haven't used coatls in a long time. All right, now Revered Panda says high tiered storm shelters could be based off of magic, like a permanent magnificent mansion, yeah, or Lehman's tiny huts. Yep. It's not a building at all. It's just a doorway you can find, and it's a safe like pocket space. I'm hearing you on that. Maybe to get you to them, you need a special crystal or item to allow access to these safe houses, especially useful for worlds where stable grounds and conditions are impossible to find, but magic is still prevalent. Yeah, you could, because you could put the doorway just about anywhere. Even could you imagine the doorway was formed on solid land, but the land has broken away. So now the doorway is actually like in the air somewhere, and the PCs have to figure out a way to get to the safe place to get through the doorway because it's just floating like hundreds of feet in the air. And maybe old villagers actually erected a tower, but the tower fell down, a generation ago, and the PCs are like, okay, we can. The storm's about to hit us, and we've got 10 minutes. Let's try to lift the tower up. Get through the tower, or get through the safe opening, and get inside. I'm feeling you on that. That's actually a good world building method to put like what is it? Portable holes in and around the world. Any of you grognards remember the portable hole and oh, what's the bag? The portable hole inside the bag. Come on, you guys know it. My brain's not working. Rickard says basically placed about as far as can be expected to travel between storms. I'm thinking like big, bulky stone things that almost look like mountains. Think a bit like Helm's Deep giant vaults that are functional villages as well as its people needed to maintain them between storms and such. Yeah, because after storms, you're still going to have debris, things thrown around, maybe entryways and exitways blocked, making sure that you're able to go back out to get more supplies and things. I'm liking this. I'm liking where we're going with this. Tesla puts in, life is strange. A tornado is set to destroy the town of Friday, which Max discovers when she jumps forward to the day and sees it from the lighthouse. This is a direct consequence of Max using her powers to save Chloe. It's either her or the town. Never heard of that, but kind of cool. A lighthouse takes on a different meaning in this world. Like lighthouses could be like where storms are. You can view a storm from far away to give people enough time to batten down the hatch. Bag of holding. Thank you. I was like, bag of. I was thinking of excuse me. I was thinking of haversack, but I was like, why? Why is my brain not working? Yes, it's the shooting the arrow with the portable hole wrapped around the shaft of the arrow and the bag behind it, and you shoot the arrow, and when the arrow hits, the bag collapses around the arrow, and then boom, implosion, the destruction of reality in and of itself in an orb. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Red Dice says to keep that Waterworld vibe going, the land-based species who are struggling for resources might employ the aquatic races to recover stuff from the depths, or eat, or perhaps the aquatic races are like, no, these sunken cities belong to us now. Ooh, yeah, and those sunken cities, let's be honest, those become the dungeons, right? That becomes the dungeon. Living That Dice comments with a cool world building political angle might be having a city built on a cargo cult mindset where certain magic and factions are maintaining air quotes the peaceful or the peace weather with unsavory magic and politics. So I'm gathering from that like there is a tenuous relationship with these cultists that have some rudimentary ability to like mitigate the storm effects, but no one likes the cultists in the first place. So you kind of have to tolerate you have to tolerate that they are part of the political system, even though no one likes them. Which double crossing, the cultists sending one of their agents along with the PCs. Maybe they become a player character rate, class, race, function, background, where in their own eyes they feel like they're doing good. I mean, come on, we know that's where conflict comes from, right? Everyone is the hero of their own story, but it's in conflict with what someone else wants. And so having these factions that exist in the world, the people who want to stop the storms, the people who want to harness it for power, the people who are benefiting from the storms in the first place that don't want them to end. So yeah, I'm feeling that a lot. I am feeling that a lot. Revered Panda says the magic to keep safe houses magically powered could be the equivalent of a lightning rod. You know, taking the power of the storm as energy. So finding the safe houses is actually walking to where the storm is worse, but it ends in a safe place. How? Oh, so the safe houses are literally the eye of the storm. I like that full circle thing where the safe house is literally in the eye of the storm because of how they're powered to keep them safe, but the storms rage around them, which puts the people on the outside in a precarious position, right? They need the safe houses to survive, but the storms are ravaging the world, which they hate. So yeah, I like that. I like that. Yeah, living like dice says, yeah, better yet, make the cultist warlocks to add tension for warlock players. Yep, yep, I'm liking that. I'm liking that a lot, especially because you have this storm ravaged world where the players are benefiting from the storms, but they could also be on a mission to basically end their reign of power. Right? Could you imagine the player characters, the paladin, the cleric, the wizard, are literally trying to get to the point where they can stop the storms themselves, which is where all the magic comes from. I like that. I like that a lot. It's a weird. It's the destruction of the ring idea, right? If we allow this to keep happening, we're dead. They're dead. Humanity's dead. And sure, we're benefiting from this thing, but we're not going to last long. Society's not going to last another generation or two. But at the same time, it's where it's where we get our power from. It's where I harness electricity or the winds or something like that. And of course, you could reskin and reflavor damn near any class function or spell or ability. Charm person could be someone looking in someone's eyes and they're hypnotized by the electrical arcs, flowing through the fairy fire flowing in their behind their eyes, or maybe the wind is able to carry a sound that is just the right sound and the right words spoken in someone's ear, carried on the wind or something like that. Cameron, hey, what's up? Red Dice says, or in a setting like Eberron, where there are larger airships, perhaps communities forsake the group entirely and move up to the clouds, abandoning the world below, further separating the world into two strata. Yeah. For Red Dice Diaries just gave me an image of, like, not just airships, but like ornithopters, or like air bladders, but there's like multiple air bladders, but they're the size of cities, holding up these cities on like tethers or something like that. Wow. And what a great way to add in your Era Kokra player characters. Yes, I'm pronouncing both A's. As the PCs have access to flight, but in this world, flight is both a bane and a boon. Because anyone who dares fly in a storm-ravaged world is probably going to get their ass thrown down to the ground, right? And then scrambling your way to get back up into the sky might be that much more dangerous. Ooh. Cameron says, imagine how the cloud giants would react to that. Cloud giants could be NPCs in your world, right? They're the ones who on the cost might be high, but maybe the cloud giants with the right favor are able to transport the PCs from one place to another, or one community to another, or the cloud giants themselves might be allied, in league with one faction over another, and even the cloud giants themselves might be against each other. In which case, the PCs could be in the middle of a fight as they start, like, the cloud giants and storm giants get all pissed off at each other, throwing lightning bolts through the sky. And again, I'm picturing, why am I going back to the Greek gods? I'm just getting that image, whatever. Well, Norse gods kind of fit in there too as well, but I'm liking it. Rick says, imagine getting to a storm fort and not having enough gold coins to buy entrance, as you can see the storm front looming on the horizon. Hell yeah. And following up the Waterworld line, massive project to box in and drain areas, basically building giant walls that goes down, there we goes down to the ocean floor and pumping out all the water in the area inside the walls. Ooh. Add to that dungeon delving, but literally you're in a drained dungeon, and the fact is that as you get ready to go into the dungeon, that's basically the abandoned city that's now deep into these brand new oceans. You can see ocean surge sweeping over top of the walls a little bit right now, but in hours it'll just be sweeping over top of these massive walls to get inside. So now not only do you have to go through the dungeon, but you have to do it with a time limit too. Yeah, I'm feeling that a lot. Oh man, I like that. Tesla says the eye of Abendego in the default Pathfinder setting of Golarion, or Gorlarian, is a colossal hurricane that has picked up the southern seas shortly after the death of one of the setting's main gods, Eredin, and stayed in place for over a century since. Yeah, isn't the storm off the coast of the Shackles like a series of islands in the Pathfinder setting? But yeah, absolutely. I'm loving that. I love the idea of like a massive storm. Some storms might sweep through an area. Some storms might be literally held in place for centuries. Ricker goes on to say the Skyborn living on their giant airships, the Ocean Wanderers living on floating platforms and boats on the world covering oceans, and the Nauticals able to live below the waves. Ooh, ooh, yeah, I'm liking this a lot. Like, why we don't have to expend like character traits to give someone maybe the ability to like deep dive or fly on the winds or something. You could just start out the game and go, hey guys, here's an option. You have the ability to travel on land, in the air, or by sea. whether that's magical, maybe there's a device, a character trait or something like that. Yeah, I like that. The Skyborn versus the Nauticals. Damn. Wow. Okay. Living Like Dice says I like the idea of Will o' the Wisps hunting by thunderstorms, where they're using lightning as camouflage to conceal their predatory movement. And maybe that's how Will o' Wisps travel. Like a bolt of lightning strikes, and they ride the bolts of lightning down so that they can arrive wherever they want to. And if a bolt of lightning happens again, they can actually ride the lightning bolt back up to disappear. I like that. Blue dragons love this setting. Blue dragons are like, hell yeah, cha-ching, my world. Revered Panda says, how do you imagine a spell like Featherfall would work in this world? Instead of falling due to the storm, you just get pushed around? Maybe Featherfall is common, but the skill to manipulate yourself isn't. So maybe it's more like hang gliding? Or maybe Featherfall doesn't work the same way. Maybe Featherfall isn't an up and down thing. Maybe Featherfall is, I need to get to that safe location, so I Featherfall and, like, twist my way to get to the safe location, within a moment's notice. But once the Featherfall ends, I'm still victim to the storms. Wonder if you could use Featherfall in the opposite direction. Like Featherfall, I'm going to get sucked up by the wind to get to the airship or something, as opposed to falling. I like that. Red Dice says, you could have people building settlements on the back of dragon turtles or similarly sized air beasts. Hell yeah. You could, again, you could reskin, reflavor, reuse things. I can hear some of you talking about mind flayers riding on the back of aboleths, but I'm not going to mention that at all. Yeah. Yeah, Revere Panda says, yeah, man, call it stone feet instead of featherfall. Yeah, designed as a reaction to bring you back down to the ground. I like that. I like that a lot. Like it's the opposite, right? It's not you falling from the sky. It's you not getting sucked the hell up into the air. And a weird combat would be having, like, say the community put down these like large ropes, like a lattice on the ground to attach yourself to. So when you're fighting your enemies, they're attached to the same lattice, and if you cut their ropes, they can get sucked up into the air. If you cut the ropes instead of like beating them about the head and shoulders, you could cut someone's rope to get them sucked up into a storm. So targeting the ropes might be a pretty good effective way to get somebody out of your way without killing them. Although getting sucked in the storm might kill them in the first place. But I like that. That's right. Says was homeless for 2 weeks. DBJ. Ooh, damn. Sorry to hear that. The number one most important thing to monitor is the weather when you ain't got a roof. Ever sleep in the woods during a storm with just a tarp, blanket, and lean-to? It sucks, dude. I cannot imagine what that felt like for you. But yeah, but I survived to type this here. Glad I'm alive. Dog's box. Hey man, first of all, thanks for being here. Thanks for sharing that. And you are absolutely right. Like the weather is super important when you're trying to camp out. I mean, period. So good on you for surviving it. And hell yeah, I think we weather's underserved in tabletop games. Dude, it sucks to have your feet wet, to be cold, to have the wind whipping past you all the time, to walk around when it's cold and your feet and your hands are cold. Your face, you can feel your nose and ears getting numb. Being in the desert with the heat beating down on you. You don't have anything to drink. I mean, it's pretty terrible. Although we kind of got away from the desert thing here, but whatever. um, oh man. Red Dice says you could have people building settlements on the back of dragons. Depending on how long ago the storm was, the cultures of the planet, such as the airborne and seaborne, could have once been one culture, but have since diverged sharply. I'm I'm liking that because if the cultures diverged, all of them will feel like they are the ones deserving of the legacy of the past. So now you got built-in conflict, right? You know, everything that's been covered up or destroyed or impossible to get to by the storms. Every culture themselves, despite not being aligned with each other, would feel that it belongs to them. Rickard says, Skyborn Nautical. Ah, you're all the same. Wherever you show up, us ocean wanderers somehow ends up paying the price in your steed. Hey, yeah, yeah. And listen, it ain't just it ain't just um it's not just hearsay. The PCs and NPCs are literally causing the storms in the first place, or at least harnessing their power. And I would blame somebody for that, right? Revered Panda says people can fight in a reverse attack on the Titan method. They shoot tethers into the ground so they can get swept up into the air in a wingsuit to fight flying enemies, and have to keep shooting more tethers to move yourself around. Oh shit! Damn, I'm liking that. Like the player characters are their own kite in a literal sense. And they're using tethers, so you have to tether out more rope or cables or something to fight in the sky and then bring yourself back in. So not only are you fighting in the sky, but you also have to control your distance away and distance close to the ground and your enemies. I like that a lot. Yeah, oh man. Jack Cobain says that's very Spider-Man. Yeah. Yep. Character botches and gets stuck in a tree. Yep, gets their tether tied around a tree branch or something on the ground. Or, yeah, what would you use? A cabling system? NPCs at the bottom that are pulling you closer and letting you tether out further away? Um, I was about to say Thomas Jefferson, Ben Franklin, with the key on your tether line, so you don't suffer any harm when you get struck by lightning, or maybe the lightning goes through your wingsuit and gets drawn down to the ground or something. Damn. Bollock says, I will never forget my experience, and I'm going to dedicate free time once the weather gets better to helping those in need. Just wanted to say hi and glad to see you're still doing your thing, DBJ. Well, dude, thank you very much, by the way. And yeah, I'm still doing my thing, and I am. I can't imagine what I could do or could have done to help you out in such a thing for you to have to go through that experience. But if I'm for just a little moment, a little bit of peace in someone's life to just can come here and hang out at the channel, I really appreciate it. So yeah, Bollocks, yeah, you're always welcome over here, dude. Getting to the end here, Living Let Dice says certain places in the world could be like New Orleans, where you can't straight bury people because it gets washed away by rainwater. Hence, the rise of necromancy in these places. Ooh. Wait a minute, are you saying flying dead people? Like, wait, what? Instead of Sharknado, you have like Necronados with like skeletons and zombies and storms of wraiths that people that have been killed. Necro balloons. Yeah. Shit, dude. Oh my god. That's a whole story unto itself. Damn. I like that. I like that a lot. All right. Oh man. Rick says, okay, we've dealt with storms in the sky and oceans. How about setting with constant earthquakes? Yeah, yeah. We completely forgot about the ground, right? For the most part, earthquakes, deserts. We did talk about zombie nados. Yeah. skeleton whiskers. Oh my god. Yeah, that would be that puts a new spin on the player characters who like if you are a zombie hunter and you're like, why are you putting on wings? Hey, you don't know how tough this job is. You put on your wingsuit and you got your tether lines and your harpoons, you're jamming them into the ground. You've got your holy sword. Let them loose, boys. Hacking dead people out the sky. Oh my goodness. Wow. The storm starts to abate and undead start falling out of the sky into these like storm forts, and the storm forts are like, close the hatches as the broken bodies of the dead fall down and start scrambling towards humanity or something. Ooh, how about necrological undead powered by the elements, right? Yeah, Red Dice says Ricker says earthquake storms is a real thing in real life. Really? Tesla, a cross between Top Gun and World War Z. Maverick, come back! Oh my god. Oh man. What if the Necro Tempest was actually a single creature, some sort of undead elemental? That's what I was thinking. And electrified skeletons or like wind battered zombies or something like that. Yeah. Oh my goodness. We're gonna go. You know what? I can't. I gotta stop. Guys. This is crazy. The conversation will continue in the Discord, and all the comments I believe will still be left in the comment section over on Twitch and YouTube, I believe, as well. So listen, World Building Wednesday, that's the whole point, right? If you come up with a great idea, steal the idea. Thank you very much. And of course, to my left, thank my moderators, Tesla Ranger, Dead Man Storyteller. Thank you guys very much. Guys, have a great one. I will see you later. Now, I know you guys in the Discord can hear what the hell going on, but that is alright, because we're going to get out of here. Guys, thank you very much. Have a great one. I'll see you tomorrow for Third Pillar of Exploration Thursday.